that down imaging, and they're like, man, it's so crisp, so clean. I mean, look at those fish. They're just popping on the screen. How did he get that screen like that? Well, Josh is the one who got my screen like that. The Humminbird guy. Without further ado, I do have a special guest that I want to bring up. What is going on, Josh? How are things going, man?
Hey, it's good. It's good. We live in the hotel life here for the next couple months, so but it's going good.
I see, and I see you're repping something on that hoodie. What's that you got on there?
Oh,
Okay.
wait a minute.
Oh, you got that
What are we
bird.
going to be talking about this weekend?
All right, got that bird on there.
Got the old Minn Kota going.
Okay, all right, the Humminbird and Minn Kota. All right, so how's everything going out there, man? All right, so let me go ahead and pull up and just share the screen real quick. Let's see. So let me see if okay, so yeah, I guess that's a good enough screenshot right there. All right, so the thing that people are wanting to know, they're looking at that down imaging, and they're like, man, it's so crisp, so clean. I mean, look at those fish. They're just popping on the screen. How did he get that screen like that? Well, Josh is the one who got my screen like that. The Humminbird guy.
That's
so
right.
Yeah, so I guess talk to the guys a little bit about the settings, because it was more than just contrast and sensitivity that made that happen.
Yeah, for sure. One of the things that I get the privilege of is working with a lot of professionals in this industry, and you hear a lot of things. So I can't take all the credit for these settings. When you get a chance to speak with somebody like Brandon Polinick, who is a big proponent of using the 455 setting on down imaging, and just kind of listening to him talk about it and why, and then getting to use it myself and do it, especially on a place like Lake Lanier where you're really looking at deep water fishing at times like this. There's a time where sometimes mega imaging isn't, the best setting. Right. Not that it won't work in that deep water, because you've done it, but sometimes to really make things pop and stick out like you see there, you got to go revert back. And I think we do a really good job at Humminbird at really dialing in even the old 455. And that's kind of what you see there. I had you go back to the 455 setting.
Right.
And we turned the dynamic contrast on there. So that kind of dimmed down that 455 a little bit, but then I heard somebody make a comment of that's running hot. Well, yeah, we do that because we really want those fish in the bait to stick out and stand out when you're out there on the water.
Right.
But the other little secret that we did there that we haven't really said is that a while back, Humminbird put something called water column sensitivity in on one of the updates. And what you can do at times, that water column sensitivity can do a couple things. For those of you that in the springtime that's coming up, a lot of times you get algae bloom, the pollen in the water. You start to see a haze in the water column. And if you want to clear that up, you can actually take your column sensitivity back to a negative, and that will clean up that image. Or in this case, you turn that water column sensitivity up, and those bass and those bait fish really pop out there on the screen. So anything in that water column will really start to shine. It's like you taking a spotlight and shine it down on those fish. And you can see that by seeing those bass standing up, up above that bait and really kind of sticking out. Because a lot of people, they tend not to know what they're looking at unless you got live there to see those fish swimming. But when you see a tic tac like that, what I call a tic tac,
right,
really kind of bright, it's hard to miss. That's not a fish. So
exactly,
that was the key thing that we did there. I got to give credit to Brandon because he kind of pointed that out to me one time. And then on the 2D side, I got to give credit to LJ on that. The drop shot Jedi.
Right.
He really dialed me in on what to do with our 2D. What I had you do there is we took it out of clear mode. We put it in max mode. Max mode just basically lets that 2D run a little bit hotter, kind of like what you do on the 2D.
Okay.
And then you kind of tweak your sensitivity and contrast. So we turned the sensitivity or the contrast down a couple notches, down to about 18 from 20. And then we took the sensitivity and dialed it back a little bit since we're running a little bit hotter transducer. And as you can see there, you can see the arches above those bait fish. You can start to see the separation in the bait. This would allow you even, you don't really see it here, but you'd start to see separation with the color palette that you're using with those fish. And then you start to see even the smaller arches that you can see above the bait. And then the one that came in right there, right off the RTS window, you start to see those fish a lot more. So you can really start to see fish hugging the bottom, so to speak.
Right.
And really pinpoint those. And then to your point, what I pointed out before and kind of what you did, I typically like to fish these fish from afar when I see them like this. So I'm going to mark that bait and those fish. You've seen it. We were on the boat doing it. We kind of went away from those fish, spun around, looked at them with live, and then was able to throw to them and watch those fish react to our bait.
Exactly.
So that's the key. But the other key too, and you had it kind of in the video, you'll see down there on your screen in one part, you put that in a manual setting. So we locked the bottom in. And I think this is the other key to this that people need to understand. You really want to lock your bottom into probably about 5 to 10 feet more than what you're scanning. I know that on yours, you had it set at about 65 because you were out in that timber first, moving back shallow.
Exactly.
But you can continue to adjust that as you're moving in. I really like to keep mine within 5 to 10 feet of the bottom, locked in. So that really helps. Kind of what that does is when you lock that in, that brings almost like zooming in, so that those fish you can see on your screen, those fish really look a little bit bigger. And you really start to see everything on the bottom. Even with the 2D sonar, you're really able to see that separation. And on that too, if you look, and I'll say if you look at the arch there, that last fish arch, right above the bait, the one you can really see.
Right, exactly.
If you look just under that, Money, you notice like on your color palette, you're using that black background with the reds and the yellows and the greens. If you look under that fish arch, you see how red he is, but just under that, there starts to be a yellow, greenish tint under there. If that fish was hugging the bottom, you'd see that yellow and that green separated from the red on the bottom. And that's him just laying there, just belly, right up off the bottom. And typically what you see there and I know you didn't really get it on this, but typically what we've seen, and you've seen it, when you mark those fish and go back to them, whether it's on a drop shot, a Damiki, or looking at them with live, there's not just 1 or 2 fish there.
Exactly.
There's about 3 or 4, maybe even 10 fish that are hovering down there. So that's a big takeaway I would take from these guys. There's a time where, locking in the bottom, that's your lower range, adjusting your lower range. That's what that is, just to about 10 or 15, about 5, 10 feet deeper than what you're fishing or what you're scanning.
Gotcha.
And that really helps. So those things, those little settings there, those little tweaks that you can do give you what you just showed on that screen and that imaging right there. So that's why I'd say I'd put our 2D imaging and our down imaging up against anybody's out there.
Gotcha.